you doing, my man? We've got a
We,
interview coming up. It's music related in a weird way. We have to unpack how you were hired to come to Camp in the Woods, but as we were preparing to do this episode, I asked if you would open up to the part of the book where you built the go-kart and you're now
yeah.
taking it on a ride for the first time. Again, this is a music related episode.
You
You got to
want me to
give
read that whole paragraph?
yeah, read it,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hope this is the part. Uh, Part of the adjustment was finding creative ways to spend their free time.
Hmm.
As Steve Bain worked nightly on his resume with Sue Briggs, Tom Orser, this loser, stumbled across an unusual project. In
Hmm.
addition to whipping up creative late night snacks courtesy of his full access to the Woodlands kitchen, Tom used his garage and workshop access to build a go-kart.
Hmm.
One day, he noticed a broken, beyond repair lawnmower with a bent shaft from camp's junk pile that Rick had thrown out. He pulled out the 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton engine and began to build around it. From the shop junkyard, Tom grabbed an old bed frame, plywood, and some carpet that was beyond Rick's advanced cleaning skills.
Rick Murray, that is, who you
Yes. Yeah.
very well described earlier. Yes.
After purchasing a few items that he could not find in the scrap heap, like pulleys, belts, and tires, Tom's Frankenstein experiment was ready to test drive. There's a music reference right there.
Yep. Now here we go.
All
Now
right.
here we go.
With his rear end a mere 2 inches from the asphalt and his tire spitting gravel, his adrenaline surged
Huh?
as he zoomed past the empty TP and
There's
auditorium,
spitting gravel. His adrenaline
yeah.
surged.
Laughing out loud, probably.
Got it.
So good. Yeah.
And to think that you saw Rush, you took your son to see Rush at Red Rocks. Are you
I should
kidding
wear
me?
my Rush t-shirt next episode. I almost did tonight.
Yeah.
That's-
I I stopped short of calling your go-kart the Red Barchetta, but you got it.
So, just so you know, I know what you were about to mention my son with the Rush concert.
Yeah.
This is how I remember it. We're
Yeah.
sitting in your backyard at the weekend
Hmm.
around a campfire, and people are going around, oh, what was the best concert you were ever at? And people they listed some great concerts, and I said, guys, I apologize for this, but I'm gonna say it. It was Rush at Red Rocks on my son's 18th birthday. Like, and it was like a mic drop, right?
Game
Because
over.
people were like, "Oh, next topic."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was
So
pretty funny.
you won. All
Yeah.
right. So look, Steve Punk Vance I'm gonna
Oh,
bring him in.
yeah.
He's ready. He just the nickname. We're gonna drill down into that because it's been a while. He was Punk, but we're gonna figure out that and a lot more. So here we go.
Let's do this. Connecting to audio.
Connecting to audio. He knows a thing or two about audio.
Hey,
Steve Punk Vance.
amazing.
How you doing, man?
Wow, this is wonderful. Look at this.
This is too much.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I
we've been teeing you up here, so
Hold on. I have my first question for you. Mr. Vance, Steve, Punk, what do we call you?
I answered a hey you.
Hey, you.
Steve is fine. Punk is fine. Those are both alive and well, and hey you is just as good. So
there's a
whatever
Pink
you
Floyd
wish.
reference right out of the gate, right there.
Wow.
So yeah, great to see him. We've been in
So
contact by
good.
phone and Facebook, but man, it's cool to have this interaction. But
Yeah.
for as long as I've known you, I don't know that I ever asked Punk, which with the QUE, like how did it how did it happen? And like,
And why don't I have a cool name like that? What?
yeah,
It's amazing.
it is.
Well, everyone can. It's just a matter of stumbling onto it. The reality is I grew up just north of Pittsburgh,
Oh,
um,
oh,
and
that's
uh,
great.
and the family farm was in Punxsutawney, groundhog.
Ah,
And so like you hear some guys called Tex, you hear some guys wherever they're from, and the funny thing is that so punk came from Punxsutawney, and there was a lot of crazy stories in high school and college about, well, where did it come up from? And some of the ones I let some of those stories run wild, even though they were like somebody
Well
said, "Oh,
played.
are you French? Are you French Canadian?" I'm like, "Oh, we, yeah." I get no, it was just foolishness. It had nothing to do with it. No, it was just Punxsutawney, groundhog, capital, weather capital of the world, whatever you call it.
A lot of other people could have called that, but you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well
amazing.
played.
No, and the way you curated the name over the years just by playing along with whatever their assumption was, I don't have that ability. You do. That's why you got a cool name, and they call me
Yeah,
loser.
I wouldn't have thought of it either. But
Yeah,
both at Houghton and at camp, you were like recognizable. You just had this way about you that
yeah.
I was able-bodied enough to go to the dining hall by foot or bike, but there were so many times I just wanted to go on the bus just because like you were there and just like talk. We'll get into that later.
I love that bus, and I love the stories and the guests, and I really love driving that bus around and picking folks up, and just in retirement, that could easily be the profession of choice
Yeah.
because um, that was wonderful, and just picking people up, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
I would love to maybe dial it back a bit. So we were at Houghton the same years. Tom was 85 to 80, well, 87. He had two good reasons to go elsewhere. His last 2 years, I was 85 to 89. We knew you from there. Um, I remember you at Houghton as the guy. So Frank Garrigus and I were roommates in Shenawana 202, listening to WCMF every night. And we would hear, oh, there's a concert coming to War Memorial Stadium or the indoor arena at Rochester, and we're like, oh, we should go to that. And the Night Ranger or Rush, and we
Yeah.
knew Bruce O'Byrne, and he's like, guess what? I got a guy. He's going to get tickets. Funk's getting tickets. Just give me the cash. And you were like Red, like the guy who knew how to get things. In our case, concert tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have those. I saved all my stubs from all the concerts,
Oh,
whether
I
it
wish I
was
had.
Rochester War Memorial or when we snuck out at camp to SPAC, whatever it may be. I kept all of them. And the funny thing is, my son saw those, and nowadays, you don't have those, and I have hundreds of them, and just the stories you can tell from those. But yeah, Rochester War Memorial. Um, quick funny story about that one. So Rush, we were going up and we were late, and we're just trying to get there in time, of course. And I was still a big fan of that band, but we came around a corner. I don't remember what road it was, and there was three of us chugging along at a good rate of speed, and whole flock of snow geese right across the road, and every car was like, "Oh no!" And it was just like, so we pulled into the parking lot, tarred and feathered, literally, and it that was the beginning of that Rush show. But it was a great Rush show. It's a Power Windows tour.
Yeah,
But yeah, some good memories there. Yeah.
yeah. Every time we went, yeah, Frank and Scott Olson, and he wore that big overcoat. And, yeah, just. But yeah,
You were a larger than life character though, in my mind. You
yeah,
had the cool nickname. And I gotta be honest, you share something with Don that Don is one of those athletes who just when he wants to win, he's gonna win. And you have the same ability with music. Like I just am so envious of naturally talented people. There's the rest of us in the world who just scrape by to try and keep up with you guys. But I just admired your musical abilities so much. We're going to talk more about that, I hope.
You know, entertainment at Houghton was kind of like at night there would be something in the auditorium. If it was music related, there was punk playing piano. It was like Billy Joel, and
Yeah.
like you could easily just think that was it was so right on. And then you come to camp, and I don't know that I knew until you got there in the preseason that you were coming from Houghton to camp. And I'd love to, I want to talk more about the preseason and camp, but like, how did you find out about Camp of the Woods? Was it Bruce, or I know you're from Butler, so there were other people that from Butler that used to come up, but who was it, how, and
Yeah.
Oh, well, so my father was a senior pastor at Community Alliance Church in Butler.
okay.
And there was my father always used to lament, oh, it's Camp of the Woods weeks because half the congregation would be gone. And yeah, that was definitely a part of it. And then Bruce was definitely the other part of it, encouraging me to go and be on staff. And he shared, how wonderful it was to be on staff there. And of course, I got a taste of what the families were saying oops, sorry, I hit the keys. What
Whirly.
Community Alliance, they were sharing how wonderful Camp of the Woods was there. It was a natural draw to me. And there was, as I was studying music at Houghton, along with my other major, there was a draw, like they said they had musical performances, and they were drawing from Wheaton, Houghton, Taylor, wherever colleges of music majors. I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. And even if I wasn't going to be a full-time part of that, I wanted to hear it. I wanted to experience it. It was the Adirondacks. It seemed like just a perfect fit to get away. So yeah, there was Community Alliance Church in Butler, and there where the families would go over the vacation and be a part of that. And Bruce, he definitely was probably the final hook in that, get me to go. And
He's very persuasive, yes.
yeah, but it was boy, I'm so thankful that worked out the way it did.
Yeah, me too. So what's amazing about camp's music staff, and I was going to say I tried to lay this out in the book, but I didn't have to because my uncle Doug did just a brilliant job of laying out what the criteria was to be on that staff. And Tom, this is our fourth episode, and I think maybe this is the first time we're about to bridge how it is that you thought that's how you were going to go or be on camp staff. It didn't work out that way. You probably didn't realize how close you were, but it was not almost. It was like all or nothing, and you ended up being on both staff. But if you share that, then I gotta bring this up with Punk about how he ended up being the first like hybrid member that ever played there.
First of all, I'm sorry, I got to go back to the name Punk. So I went to North Syracuse Baptist Church with your uncle.
Yes, I remember this now.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. And I'd say, oh man, I think I know your nephew, Punk. And he's like, you mean Steven? He would not say, he was never gonna say Punk.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
thank you. Oh yeah.
Also a larger than life character.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was never gonna do it. He was
No.
never gonna. I'm sorry, I had to go back to that.
That's good
No,
stuff.
it was good because real quick, my birth mom died when I was 4, so there was a different family. So Uncle Dick at your church, he was my stepmom's brother. So there was 2 different
Okay.
families there. So that there's, but yes, absolutely. No.
Yeah, he was pretty conservative. I did not make, I applied for music staff at camp and got rejected. And I mean, so Don convinced me, oh, you got to work at camp. And I'm like, well, what are the different jobs? And he probably listed them all. And he listed the music staff. I'm like, music staff. I play an instrument. I can do that, right? So I put it, I forget, someone did a company accompaniment for me at Houghton, and I submitted my tape and got back we're sorry, but no.
Well, you
And
were part of the Houghton band playing trombone. I mean, you weren't that wasn't nothing. I mean, that was
well, but I
part
remember
of the
telling you,
music
Don,
program.
I'm,
Yeah,
I
that
guess
was
I'm
a
not
oh,
working at camp. And Don's response was, let's see. I'll see what I can do. And, then I realized he saved me because those guys work hard, waiting on tables and playing but I did a hybrid job too. You're saying you played in the band as well as drove the vehicle? Because
Yeah.
I did
So
that too.
you and I have a similar experience to some degree. I wanted to do the music as well, um, but I also wanted the preseason, and so it was quickly picked up on that I'd be a good chauffeur. And so I was running the trips to Amsterdam and to Albany, and like when the basketball camp, like the Mavericks would come in, I'd go pick them up, for the basketball camp, or when there was guests coming in from Amsterdam or the train station, there was the garbage truck run, there was the bus. So it seemed to be a natural fit that was good. But back to the music point, I did, and I ran up against someone at Houghton that and I admire her so much. I still do to this day, Margie Danielson.
oh yeah,
And
she's a legend. She
yeah,
just
and I
suggests
still,
that. Yeah,
it's just like, the one time that I played in the Friday, no, several times I played, but the one time I played was she did, she did Rhapsody in Blue with the whole thing, and it was the real deal. And like, there's no way I could compete with that. No chance. Margie was just the best, and I really wanted to be that person, and I was not on her level. However, um, uh, your grandfather gave me a shot, or somebody gave me a shot. It was a culmination of things, and I got to play several times at the weekend concerts, the Friday night, whatever. And the one time I played, they wanted a pop thing, and they said, the Piano Man came up by Billy Joel, and I said, well, I don't think that's really what they want, but somebody actually said, "Do you know how to play Root Beer Rag by Billy Joel?" It's a really technical piece, and it's like a ragtime piece. And I said, "I do." And so then Trapper and forgive me, I can't remember who played bass. Oh, that's awful. I'll have to look it up. But Trapper Vote was on drums.
somebody listening here will know, and they'll chime.
Yeah, and so we did Root Beer Rag, and it was wonderful. It was great. But Margie was playing Rhapsody in Blue that night, and I didn't hold a candle to her. It was fun what I did, but
Well, that's so. If you can try to think about that, because this is amazing. Like Margie was a legend there. She was,
Yeah.
um, she did everything on the keyboards, and there were maybe somebody else that played an instrument and could do keyboards. But here you come in and you establish yourself as the chauffeur, which really is a huge compliment because uh, leadership would have to know, like when you're picking people up from the airport, hey, we're going to send somebody to the airport to pick you up. They have to be confident that it's not 5 minutes away. You're going to Albany. You're going to spend an hour and 20 minutes with someone in the car, and camp would want someone to know that they were being able to engage in conversation that would make them feel um, loose and comfortable. And we all know that, but can't figure that out quickly about you. But then the fact that you also have this musical talent that, okay, you weren't part of the full-time music staff, but you were still able to play in concerts. Like you had to convince, it would have been my Uncle Doug back then that, like you just said, that, it came up about a Billy Joel song, and yeah, I can do that. But to work that in was amazing. That was a big time platform.
I think uh, honestly, I think Trapper had something to do with it. I think he said, we hang out playing with this guy on the side, and excuse me, he said, I think this might be kind of fun because if I remember correctly, like the first part of the program, there was more of an Americana feel. and there was more of a pop feel, and then the second it might have been whatever. I still have
More
the pro. I still have
spiritual.
the
Yeah.
program. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think someone convinced him and said, "Hey, this is kind of a nice ragtime, thing." There was two times I played, and both times it was kind of a pop thing. And I think it was kind of like we played with this guy on the side, and it could be fun, and it was. I had some people pulling for me in my corner, so I was blessed, and it happened, and I'm thankful for it.
It was just so cool to see someone be able to kind of make it penetrate onto that platform in a non-traditional way and just bring the house down. I just remember people loved it.
It was fun. I still have the recording.
Do you?
I
Oh,
still have the recording, and I probably should get it to you. It's not the best, but it's definitely it was announced, like and what's going to happen, and then it happened, and it was. And the funny thing is, now looking back on all the years that I've had to practice and learn from the past, I started it off way too fast, and thankfully Trapper caught it. And the key to a good drummer, like you never leave the pocket, but he actually drew me back to a reasonable tempo. I think the adrenaline was flowing, and but yes, thankfully it came off good, and it was a crowd pleaser. That felt great, and I was just blessed for the opportunity. That was a great night. That felt good.
Very cool. So when you first come to camp, you came in the preseason maybe because you could and your college schedule at Houghton allowed you to. But Tom told me before the recording that, and he said this before. This is only our fourth episode, and now in number one he brought it up, and now number four he's going to bring it up. Your story about the Baked Alaska. I've had more people tell me that they laugh so hard reading that, and so,
my favorite. It's my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
We're gonna ask you to read some of that in a minute. I want to go back. I want to go back to the music just for a second, Don.
Yeah.
Tell me if you can hear this. Do you hear it?
I think that must be in your head.
Okay, then I have to share it for you to hear it. Hang on.
Yeah,
I thought I could do it without sharing, but I can't.
sure. Wait, do I have to do anything to?
No.
We can edit this too if we have to.
You got it disabled again, Don.
Ah!
You
All right,
got
hold on. Take me there.
I gotta look it up again. It's amazing.
Okay, we'll
We do
edit.
this every week.
No.
Uh,
Punk, it's awesome to have you here, man.
This is wonderful. It's so good to see you both, and it's funny. I was in Speculator on Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
And I was playing a private gig over at Rick's.
Believe me, I was going to ask you about that. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, he asked me to play that private gig every year, and the guy that I've been playing, he's a saxophonist in my band for years. He's played on a national stage. I'm so blessed to play with him. He agreed to come down and do it as a favor to me, and it's always great to get back in town and just to walk around camp, and this was there 2 weeks ago. It was fantastic. It's great to just every time I go back, and it's once or twice a year, if not more. It's just the best.
Yeah.
hey Don, near the share screen button, advanced sharing options.
Share. Okay. Advanced.
Click all participants. Hear it.
Okay.
No, I can't hear. So do you remember you were getting a group together at Houghton to try and do that as an ensemble? Do you remember doing that?
I do, and sadly, it never came to fruition there.
Okay, that actually makes me happy because I was wondering if you got a group together and just excluded me. I wasn't making the grade. I thought maybe that had happened. But this is the part of that song that just blew me away when you were playing it. because I couldn't believe your fingers could move that fast. And Don said we could ask for requests right now, so I want to know if you can do that.
That part?
Yeah.
I don't know how well it comes across in Zoom, but
I mean, can you still play that song? Yeah, it's not picking up the audio, Steve.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, we're
yes.
gonna have to work on that. Or just so you know, also I was stalking your Facebook after Don told me that he made some requests. So I went and watched the videos you made for Don, which were amazing.
For me.
Yes.
They were for my request, but they were for everyone.
And I love how you were complaining about, man, and that song was super high. He was trying to make you sing. It was. Anyway,
Oh,
that would be my
the Pink
request.
Floyd, I think it was.
Us and them. Oh, that was tremendous. And you brought in your saxophone
Yeah.
player.
Well, that's the same guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic, what you put out there. Anyway, if you're taking requests, I'd like to hear at least that section of scenes. It's such a great song.
Anything else you want, you just feel like wanting to play, that would be fantastic.
I will say this, Tom. Sadly, I've always wanted to do that with the big band. I have a larger band that I'm blessed to play with. We used to play 2-3 gigs a weekend. That's way long ago. Now it's 3-4 times a year at larger festivals, and we just get together for fun. But I said before it's too late, I do want to do scenes from an Italian restaurant, and absolutely have the sax player to do it, absolutely have the band to do it, and sadly have not pulled it off yet, for whatever reason. Hopefully soon. But we pulled off some big ones, but not that one. And I would love to do that one.
It is a big one. It's so varied in the
But yeah,
styles.
you were talking about playing Rick Swift's. So he does that every Labor Day?
Yeah, it's a block party on Golf Course Road, and it's a block party, all the neighbors, and they started hiring me a couple of years ago. And it's back when I was playing piano bar at Melody Lodge after Camp of the Woods employment. And I was doing piano bar up there and working with George and Sue Swift, and waiting tables and mowing lawns and doing housekeeping and whatever else. Same as Camp of the Woods. It just, whatever they needed me to do was fine. So yeah, the music kept going at the Melody Lodge too.
Yeah, I love how you stay around to kind of be part of the community and lend your talents to it. And
I miss it. There's always a part of me that misses it, and certainly at the core of that, Camp of the Woods was definitely the core of it. And it was just the friendships made, the experiences, and just that. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I live in the Adirondacks now, and I'm glad to be back.
too, but we could,
We do want that.
yeah,
So we got a couple things to do, Don.
yeah.
So let's do this first. Have you watched any of the other podcasts we did, Steve?
Admittedly, I have not. I
Yeah.
apologize. I am anxious to sit down and immerse myself fully in it. We had 2 college graduations, and then I had to fly out to Michigan to take my son from Hope College in Western Michigan to Baylor University, where he's doing his master's. And then my fiance had to take Sophia to Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. She moved from Long Island. We moved into a new house, blah, blah, blah.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, we were going to record last week, and you were bringing in a whole new slew of guests to the your Adirondack Lodge in Lake Placid, which we have to talk about too. So
Yeah. I want to talk about that because I want to go there.
Absolutely. Love to have you up here.
All right.
All right. Well, on the other ones you would have seen, we do a segment that we call On the Spot. All right.
Okay.
All right. There's going to be 10 questions on the screen here. You can choose one or more. If you don't choose, we'll choose for you. But it's just kind of a fun way to get some more information about what's going on in your life, or how camp might have impacted you. So take a minute, take a look at the questions, see if one jumps out at you. We'll listen to your response.
Is number 6 part of our template?
I might have made a change here.
That's actually an easy one to answer.
I'm anxious.
Six is wherever you want to go, fellas.
Well,
Shoot, fire away.
so
Do the low hanging fruit. Take
yeah,
six
do
and grab
six
some more.
first.
Yeah.
Okay. Having played Billy Joel all my life, it's not even close. The Stranger.
Okay. If you said anything but the stranger, I was gonna really question my existence. So
Yeah. That's not even
thank
close.
you. Okay.
Did you on that note, the movie Step Brothers, which I'm not recommending, but it is funny. But when they finally do that helicopter, whatever the big show at the end, and the guy comes on and he only does Billy Joel from like 1986 on or whatever, and then he gets heckled. Like, hey, do something before that. He's like, no, we only do. And they got in a big fight and got kicked off the stage. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. That's amazing.
Oh, okay. All right. It's funny.
Yes.
Uh, I'm interested in number one and number four.
All right.
If
Okay.
possible.
Easy to answer. Places since camp. That's very easy. Went to Vermont with Rick Swift. We collectively went over to Vermont, tried out for ski instructors at a resort and made it. And
Oh, wow.
he went back to Speculator, and I stayed, and I was in Vermont for 33 years,
Wow.
working at various large ski resorts. And then I came over here 5 years ago in Lake Placid. So it's easy. That's Vermont and
Okay.
Lake Placid.
Follow-up question. Have you skied out west?
Yes, many times. Case in point, I've skied many times at Jackson Hole. That's my favorite.
Okay.
Nice.
I was
Yeah.
just at Jackson Hole a couple weeks ago, obviously not skiing. So Vermont skiing compared to out west?
Depends on the day. So I was fortunate to work at Smuggler's Notch, Stowe, and Jay Peak, and
Okay.
they're the ones that get the most in the East. It's not a marketing ploy. It's I don't need to bore you with the proof, but it's true. And the graded skiing, I think at Jay Peak and Sugarbush and Stowe and Smuggler's Notch, that is as good to me as almost as good to me as Steamboat and Telluride and Jackson. However, there's no arguing that the consistency, there's more snow. There's no arguing that the quality of the snow overall is better. I just, I just think that's what you're used to, what you're familiar with, what your community, where you want to live.
Yeah, that's
I've
different.
known,
Yeah.
huh?
That's part of it. We had this discussion with Bob Purdy last week, and we were talking about Colorado resorts because I lived in Colorado for 10 years, and
Yeah.
Breckenridge has like a 4,500 vertical. You can't do that on the East Coast. And I don't know, I'm spoiled. And
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I will say Whiteface, which is home for now,
yeah,
with a 3,400 vertical, that's the biggest one east of the Rockies,
yeah,
and it's not bad.
that's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
No,
Olympic worth. And I think too, it's interesting the timing of these conversations, Tom, to have Uncle Bob, come on
Yeah.
last week and now Punk, where we all right away we bring in an expert on the best of Eastern skiing
Yes.
in
To,
Vermont, and
to counter what Bob Purdy was saying. Yeah.
to counter, because Uncle Bob will admit that he didn't really ski much beyond like Oak or New York State to go into Vermont to know maybe how close the East could be, to at least closes the gap between,
Okay.
right?
But there is one area that the East Coast will never compete. In one season, I skied on Halloween and July 4th
July 4th.
in one season.
Wow.
yeah,
That you can't do out here.
yeah, it's true. Absolutely acknowledged. And a good friend of mine is one of the general managers at Mammoth, and last year they were skiing 4th of July and then beyond, and they were going to try to make it the whole way through and not stop.
Oh, that's amazing.
but they didn't.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, and they had pictures of, you know, 17 feet down to access his propane tank for servicing at his house, you know. So yeah, no, I get it. You know, the one thing I will say about the East is that I think it's the accessibility. I think it's for a lot of people that want to ski, it's just getting able to accessibility of getting there. And
Yeah.
that's part of it. But I will say this, and I need to be careful. But my former employer, Jay Peak, I mean, that is like what Buffalo is to Toronto. If you say who gets more snow, it's easy. If you say who gets more snow, Utah or Colorado, that's easy. If you say who gets more snow, Grand Targhee or Jackson Hole, it's easy. And the thing about Jay Peak was it was this microclimate. It could be raining at Stowe and Smugglers, and it could be dumping at Jay Peak. And I remember 2000, 2001, I still have the Powder Magazine article. Number one that year was Alyeska, Alaska, over 1,000 inches. Number two that year in North America was Jay Peak at 578. And number three was Alta, Utah, and number four was Smuggler's Notch. It was one of those anomalies, but
Yeah.
it can happen. Northern Vermont does have those microclimates. So no argument that the West is going to best the East 8 times out of 10, but those are occasions where we get out there and it's almost as wonderful.
That is some serious knowledge, and it gives you so much credibility to say, you know, whether it's on Facebook or whatever, hey, come to Lake Placid because the conditions are good. Like
it gives me hope.
Yeah.
It gives me hope that maybe I can ski out here.
Yeah. That
My
would be
skis
very
are
awesome.
my skis are at my daughter's house in Colorado, so there's
Well,
that.
you know what? Let's pick a good weekend and get everybody. Let's have a reunion up here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in. I'm in for that.
All right.
I'm in for that. Well, okay.